Okay, we're back with another Ask an Expert Friday. So welcome. My name is Steph with our Beauty Referral Network. And in our network, we're really about beauty as a whole and just everything as a whole and helping our beauty business owners, beauty and health and wellness, kind of like anything to do with beauty, because it's not just about makeup and lashes and nails and looking pretty. Beauty is about so much more. And so I have a special guest here today that is someone that can help with our beauty business owners and health and wellness business owners, pretty much any business owner and any person in general. But specifically, we're going to talk about how our health and beauty business owners can benefit from these services. And so every Friday, we bring somebody on to share their expertise on how we can help you build and grow a sustainable business that is solid. So I have Billie here with us today, and she is going to tell us all about LegalShield. So I'll get Billie to introduce herself first, and then we're going to get to it.
Hey, Stephanie, thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate this opportunity to share with your fabulous network of business owners. Just a little bit about me. My career background is financial literacy. So I started in the brokerage industry, spent about 20 years there. And then I got a little bit tired of helping the wealthy get wealthier, and I wanted to see those concepts more shared with people that kind of needed it. And so I went back to school, I got some coaching and teaching certification, and I found an opportunity to share financial literacy, which just means personal money management, for the next bunch of decades. So from that, I came across this service that you referenced, so LegalShield, and I saw how much it can support and empower small business owners in their businesses and in their lives.
Okay. Fantastic. So can you share a little bit about what LegalShield is and who they help?
I absolutely
and how they can help people? Not just for businesses, but we can also get into how it can help people as individuals as well, because there's a lot of really great benefits within LegalShield.
Absolutely. I myself found the need for LegalShield when my brother died without a will. And so a lot of families just, things come up in life that we don't feel like we have any sort of recourse, because maybe we feel like, geez, I wish I could talk to a lawyer about this. That thing that happened doesn't seem right, doesn't seem fair. And a lawyer costs $300 or $400 an hour. Well, when I went looking for legal advice in regards to my brother's death, it was the same thing I found. They wanted a $5,000 retainer. So when you find something like LegalShield, which is like under $50 a month, it helps us do all kinds of things, like in maybe a consumer rights issue, or around getting our wills and estates done, or maybe you feel like you're owed a refund on something and it's just not coming, or maybe you've ordered some product and it hasn't arrived and now the company is ghosting you. So all of those things, we really benefit when we have access to legal advice and support. So like you said, it's very helpful for the family. It's also very helpful for the small business owner.
Okay, fantastic. Should we just get into the slides that you've got then?
Sure. We have a little presentation for everyone. It's just going to take us maybe 15 minutes or so to go through it, just to give you a bit more detail and tell everyone a little bit more about who LegalShield is, where they come from, how long they've been doing this, and really the impact that they make on small business owners.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just set up my LegalShield account because I needed to create a will, and this seems like the best way to do it and be able to update it annually as well as needed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got our slideshow up now. Make sure you can see that.
I can see it really great. Okay, everyone. Fantastic. Thank you, Steph. I'll just jump right in there. So PPLSI is the name of the parent company. And like the slide says, we are working together to empower small businesses. And just keep in mind, as Stephanie said, it's for empowering women, families, and small business owners for sure. So just so you know, we're not trying something new. We've been around since 1972. About 4.5 million lives are currently protected by our services in the US and Canada, and about 140,000 small businesses use this service as well. We call ourselves a disruptive innovation. So a lot of things have come up in life over the last decade or so that make life simpler, easier, and more affordable. You know, you think about online shopping, we're dealing with just a lot of people since the pandemic found out, wow, they could just shop online. They don't have to run around quite so much. And really, Amazon and the online shopping world has completely changed our shopping experience. When you look at music, between iTunes and Spotify and stuff like that, like you guys in the younger generation, you don't even remember buying an album because you like one song on it and having to have the whole record. Now we don't have to do that, right? We can buy a song for 99 cents or $1.29 and have it on our phone, or you can just stream it for a small monthly fee. So music has changed incredibly. And these services have really made a difference in our lives because they're simpler, easier, and more affordable. And that's what LegalShield did. Our founder ended up being in a situation where he really needed some legal support. There was nothing available except that typical $300, $400, $500 an hour service. And so he went about way back in 1972 to start creating this service. LegalShield now exists. We have a beautiful and very helpful little app. And so we have come along in this space and made something simpler, easier, and more affordable for everyone. Why do we need it for small business owners? Well, it's kind of obvious on a small business budget. Owners need a way to protect their day-to-day business decisions. So this is a long list here. I won't go into all of it, but just stuff like timely contract and document review. That's so important before we sign any papers, which we've all done it. We've all signed them and crossed our fingers and hope everything's okay. Sometimes it isn't okay, but it's so much better to have that stuff done in advance, and so you don't have to worry in the future. Here's a couple of items from the list. Equipment and commercial leasing, again, looking at the contract before you agree to stuff. Even your new employee rights and responsibilities from the employer. Debt collection is a big thing. Just imagine how much more kind of emphasis a letter coming from your lawyer would be if someone isn't paying their bill than if you just wrote them an email yourself or called them or texted them. So we really want to empower those families and small business owners so that they can really just focus on doing the amazing work that they do. So if business owners could have all of these services, they would be just in such a better place to run their lives. So having legal consultation and advice on an unlimited number of business-related matters is just so empowering. You can have letters and phone calls made on your behalf by the law firm. Like I said, you can have those contracts and documents reviewed. You can have support when there's a collection situation. You can have your employee handbooks reviewed or created. All of these things just really free up the stress that some business owners feel because they have a service that they want to put out in the world, or they have something that they just know is going to make the world a better place. And all of this stuff can kind of bog them down. So now they can pass it off to the legal department without having, to break the bank, let's just say. And just a big deal, Stephanie, is that these services are really tailored to meet the needs of every business. So it's not a one size fits all. Sure, small businesses have big business problems, but they don't have the big business resources. So to be able to have a choice as to, well, how much service do I need? I can start there, and then I can grow with the service as my business grows, and I need more support. I really love that about this. So here's a quick idea. Some people need a lot of support, and that plan starts at only $169 a month, which is just incredible compared to $300 or $400 for an hour. If you don't need quite that much support, we have a plan that's $99 a month. And if you're just starting out and you just need the essentials, that plan is only $49 a month. And we have these documents available to send out to people, Stephanie, so that when they have questions and this looks like something that they want to embark on, they don't have to memorize the slide or take a screenshot. They can literally just reach out to us and get their questions answered. Another thing we have is the Business Plus supplement. So there's a lot of things that we want to talk about in our business, but maybe they're not legal. And here's a good list, like marketing and advertising, employee handbooks, writing a business plan, or even having making decisions about our logo. HR management. There's a lot of small businesses that every job has to be done by the owner. Maybe they're not quite that versed in HR. So these are things that our business consultants can help with. We send in an email and they will reply by email in 24 to 48 hours for anything that's not legal. So we're really trying to bring all the support services to a small business that we can. There are also some small businesses that are so small, it's just me or my husband and I. And so they really don't need a big business plan. So we have something called the Home Business Supplement. And it just tags on to that personal plan that you had mentioned earlier. And it makes the family covered both for their personal legal issues that they might have questions about and the business stuff. And it just is very, very affordable and gives them the combo so that they've got the support on both sides of their lives. And I've kind of covered a lot of stuff, but I do want to talk about it because you mentioned it, life events. It's so important that we all have our will done. I come to this whole situation 10 years ago, having lost my brother when he died without a will. And I didn't know that it was going to be a big deal, guys. He died with no money in the bank because he was a guy that lived paycheck to paycheck. And he also had no car. He wasn't a car guy. So you would think, well, why would he need a will then? Well, once I told the CRA that he had passed, because I just thought that was the right thing to do, they said, oh, well, he's 5 years behind in his tax filing. Could you submit those? And when I did, they gave him a small refund after his death. But nobody could touch that money because there was no will. So I'm here to tell you that it is a love letter that we give to our family, because then they can grieve our loss, they can deal with all the stuff they have to deal with, but they don't have to deal with all the matters that are in the will, because the will is written. And it's just a real gift that we give to our families. And I want us to be thinking about our siblings, because that was the situation that I was in. I had a will because I'm a mom, and I thought that was important. But what about our siblings? What about our cousins? What about our parents? Right? We really want to expand on that and just think, is everyone in my family taken care of? And then this slide does mention the healthcare power of attorney and the financial power of attorney, which is all included in one package and one small monthly fee. So like I said, we kind of want to do a wraparound, empowering and protecting the family and the small business, so that everything that could come up outside of us delivering our brilliant service is also covered. So we can have the legal stuff, we can have the consultation that we need for other matters. It's all part of LegalShield wanting to empower and protect the family and the small business. And you did mention, of course, the personal legal plans. We've got a couple of other things, like identity theft is really huge right now, and we're concerned about that. So our second service is an identity theft protection plan. And then I love that this slide mentions the employee benefits, because sometimes we have a small staff and we'd like to give them an affordable benefit for just to help them, again, take care of all the things in their family. And so our LegalShield and ID Shield are available in an employee benefits group discount. So sometimes a staff, even if you've got only 2 or 3 staff, you're able to get this at a substantial discount and offer it to everyone. And that's everything. So I hope that wasn't too fast, Stephanie, but that kind of covers, it gives a nice overview of this service.
No, that's great. So, last week we had someone come on and talk about insurance, and I feel like this kind of really fits in with that, like having your business insurance in case somebody decides to come after you and sue you. Maybe you've ruined their hair, their lashes, maybe they've reacted poorly to something that you've given them. And so with Legal Shield, I guess like the insurance takes care of that end of it, but Legal Shield gives our people access to the lawyers that they would need in the event of being sued, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people, they might be unhappy and they might be thinking about or threatening to sue. And suing someone is a really big deal. So it might be a threat. And when we have the opportunity to say, you know what, let me just run this by my lawyer, it puts us in a different posture. And then that person is not just dealing with us, they're dealing with our legal team. And so it can feel very supportive in a situation like that. And I can share a small story where a friend of mine was offering ear candling. Everybody has their own opinion about that, but she had a very good reputation, and she has never heard anyone but a client said to her that she had burnt them. And she got really scared and worried. And she just wanted to know that she could talk to a lawyer and say, what are my rights? What are my responsibilities? What might my next steps be in a situation like this? So we don't always have to take or worry about taking legal action. Like some people are like, oh, geez, I don't want to get lawyers involved. We're not doing that. It's like going to see your doctor and they give you some suggestions as to what you might do for your ailment. Then you get to decide what your next steps are. But at least now you have a path, whereas before you were just fearful and worried and uncertain. So it really does empower us.
Yeah, sounds like it takes a lot of that stress in the background out as well, because you always have that support of somebody to talk to and get that advice from when you wouldn't otherwise.
Exactly. Nicely said.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else you want to share with us about Legal Shield? Like, how do people get in touch with you? How does one sign up for this? Like, how does that whole process work?
Sure. Well, it is pretty straightforward. We are very active on the web. So we have a web application. You can reach out to me. I'm very easy to find on all social media. And I can answer additional questions, one-on-one. And through the Beauty for Referral Network, you guys have access to this service. And so I'm super happy. It's kind of like I've partnered with you guys to help you get this out to your community. And nothing would make me happier than knowing that, dozens of small business owners and families now have this service under their belt. It's like having a lawyer in your back pocket. And you know what? Sometimes, Stephanie, we don't use the plan for a month or two, but then when we need it, it was so affordable that it didn't hurt to have it in our bills, but not be using it. I use it maybe 2 or 3 times a year because things come up. My fella got really sick, and he was in the hospital for 7 days. And the doctors wanted to know, like, who's got the power of attorney. And I was really glad to be able to have the law firm to contact on these matters. I've had tickets that I bought for my grandkids, and the company canceled the show. And they offered us a refund, but the refund never came, and it never came, and it never came. They said we'd have a refund in 30 days. 95 days later, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not going to keep sending emails. I'm just going to call my law firm. So there are just so many things that happen in life that we don't even realize that there's a legal component to it because we're not used to it. And once we have this service and we're like, oh yeah, that thing that happened, I wonder if I could call on this and this and this. And because there's no statute of limitations and there's no limit to the kinds of issues that you can ask on, it can empower us from the past and the present as well.
Yeah. And then Callie actually just mentioned something that reminded me, but Legal Shield would also be great for, like, let's say like I did lashes and I had a consent form that I would have my clients sign. And I had one for all of my services. I had all of mine reviewed by a lawyer, and I paid a lot of money to do that. So at least with Legal Shield, anytime you need to update those contracts, then you can easily just reach out to Legal Shield for the contract review to make sure that your contracts are all solid as well. So contracts are there not to only to protect yourself, but also to protect the clients.
Well, that's an excellent point, and thanks, Callie, for bringing that up, because those documents, they mean everything. As you said, whether they are on the side of you signing something, like before you buy a car, you might want to have your contract reviewed. But what about when you're giving your contract to a client? Absolutely, especially in personal services. Or actually, I might say, what about renting a chair, renting a room, having a vendor table? You always want to know, what are they offering? What am I actually agreeing to? What's my part in this? But what's their part in this? So many times I hear about a vendor event, say, and there was no foot traffic, and the vendors are upset. Well, then you kind of want to say, well, what was in the contract? What did the vendor company offer? Maybe they didn't offer to promise, maybe they didn't promise anything, and you just said, okay, well, I'll just pay my $200 and cross my fingers. Well, then that's where it stands. But if you say to them, I'd like to see the agreement and I'd like to have my lawyer review it with me before I agree to take this vendor table, again, you're more empowered in front of that business agreement. So I just really think it makes so much sense to look at all of those aspects.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. Well, I don't think I have any other questions about that, but I know for me, like for personally, for regarding the wills, it never even occurred to me before I became a mom and had a house and all the things to even have a will. So you mentioning about your brother passing and him having nothing, and you still, got stuck dealing with things that you maybe could have avoided with LegalShield, just makes this so much more valuable for anybody. Like, you don't have to be a mom, you don't have to own a house, you don't have to have a bunch of properties that you own in order to have a will. You could have nothing and still need a will just to protect your family going forward.
You're so right, Stephanie. And I often say that this is no one's favorite topic. And I get that. We never want to think about, my kid's only 21 and he might get hurt on the job and not make it home tonight. We don't want to think about those things. So writing a will actually gives us some peace of mind. You put everything down. Now you have rights. Now they have established who would take care of my affairs if something were to happen to me. And you don't have to think about it for 5 or 10 years. You just put it in the files of important financial papers. So I 100% agree with you that sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Financial literacy is a lot like that. When I start asking people if they understand retirement, do you understand the Canada Pension Plan? Do you understand old age security? Do you understand the guaranteed income supplement? People's eyes, they start rolling in the back of their head. And this is kind of the same thing. Sometimes you go, legal, ew, do we actually have to talk about this? Because you don't realize just how many things around you. You are at the effect of an agreement that someone's lawyer wrote up, but you don't have anybody on your side.
Mm-hmm.
So having
the
that
will
will
isn't just to leave things to family, it's also to protect everything as a whole, right? Like, if your brother passed and had a huge amount of debt, how would that have affected you if he had a will and if he didn't have a will?
Well, that's a little bit different topic. So estate law is quite interesting. And of course, I'm not a lawyer, but I have gone through all of these experiences. And debts really are expected to be paid by the estate. So if someone passes away, but they do have money, the executor's job is to make sure that the bills get paid. And so it's not just dispersing our stuff, like you say, or even giving a right to the bank account. But we have a responsibility to pay our final taxes, to take care of our debts, like you say. So it is a kind of a strong part of adulting to go ahead and get this done. But I also want to mention something that you made me think of in regards to having a lot of these things just kind of in place. we're just living our lives. We're just trying to enjoy life and survive life sometimes. And so we don't think about the seriousness of some of these things. And so just having Legal Shield in your thoughts already makes you think of some of those bit more serious things in life. Because I had a will, because I was a mom, but I paid $800 for it. And it also didn't even come with the powers of attorney. So when I learned about Legal Shield, I was like, damn, I could have actually had 2.5 years of access to legal advice for that $800. So it's also a matter of spending or using our money wisely. And this just opens up another whole opportunity for us to take money that we didn't know there were options, spend it better, get more out of it. And that's good for every family and every small business owner.
Yeah, my other question was to ask what the cost is these days to get a will, if you know what those costs are, versus what it would cost with Legal Shield, and how long would you have to be like a monthly paying member of Legal Shield before you can cancel it? And if you decided to cancel it, does your will carry along with you? Like, what happens to your will if you decide to cancel your subscription?
So that's a bunch of great questions there. So when a will is created, it doesn't belong to the law firm. It doesn't belong to the province. It belongs to you. So it doesn't matter which law firm created it. And even if they go out of business, it's still your will. It's part of BC law. So you don't have to worry about that. Once a will is created, it's valid no matter what happens with the law firm or anything like that. Having said that, the will and powers of attorney can typically be about $1,500. You might get it for a couple dollars less per person. So for a family, it can run $2,000 to $3,000. And just because it's such an important piece of that legal conversation, it was one of the first things that the Legal Shield plan came with, was getting access to a lawyer, a wills and estates legal team. And so our plan started at $35.95 per month for the family, and the will is an included benefit for husband and wife. And the business plans I showed you start at $49 a month. And then to answer your question about how long are people invited to keep it, well, we never lock anyone into a long-term contract. So I like knowing that it's not like a gym membership you can never get out of. But we do invite our members to stick around for a year. Use the plan fully. Think about all the things that you might have had happen even just in your life in the last year or two, and get legal advice on those things that have happened. And if you get your will done and you ask your questions and you really feel like there's not a need for you to have this, or you change, you move to Costa Rica or something like that, you're not locked into this at all. We have a 1-800 number, and they're very good customer care staff, and you would just let them know that you'd like to cancel the membership. But we invite our members to give us a year. If everyone just used it and canceled, of course, our law firms wouldn't work for us because it is based on volume. So if you use it in a year, most people, if they use it 2 or 3 times, they're pretty excited about it and they end up wanting to keep it. But it's good to know that they're not obligated to keep it forever.
Yeah, well, and even like after a year, 35, I don't know if you can see my screen, 35 times 12 is $420. So it essentially costs you $420 a year to have access to all of these legal services at any point in time, and to get your will done, versus anywhere around $1,500 per person to get a will sorted out. So even if you joined in for a year, tried out all the services, got both of the parents a will for only $420, that is like a steal. That is like a start the car moment, like what's that commercial? IKEA. Start the car.
Start the car. Yeah, you're so
Like
right.
that's really, really good. Like that's just such huge value, and something really nice to kind of have in your corner in the event that you ever do need anything, and just kind of really gives that peace of mind. I mean, I think it's especially really good for business owners too, to always have that legal advice right there, rather than paying $300 to $500 per hour for a lawyer every time you have to go and talk to somebody.
Yeah, because you know what happens, Stephanie, when that's our only option is that $300 or $400 an hour, we don't get legal advice. We just go, oh, hopefully everything's going to be okay. I recently had someone reach out to me and she said, can I get my contract reviewed? I said, absolutely. Let's get you signed up. She said, okay, I need my contract reviewed today. And I'm like, oh, well, that kind of changes things because we request 3 days for the full contract review and getting back to you. And she said, well, I need to sign this document and send it off tonight. And I said, well, I'm really sorry because we'd been talking about LegalShield for like, I don't know, a couple of years. And she just hadn't done it. And so I said to her, why don't you reach out to our network and see what someone would charge you to do it today? And so when she got back to me, they wanted $650.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I said to her, okay, well, what's your decision? What are you going to do? She said, I'm just not going to get legal advice. I'm just going to sign it and send it in. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what
I imagine
happens.
that happens a lot.
It
And then
happens a
another
lot.
thing I wanted to mention that as I was going through the package and looking at it, like, because this is the monthly membership includes legal advice, but in the event you needed to hire one of those lawyers to take something further, you get discounted rates on those lawyer fees. So while all the advice is included, if you actually have to hire a lawyer to go further, I like that there's a bit of that discount involved in it too.
I really appreciate you bringing that up because for a lot of people, litigation might just be unavoidable. And so knowing that instead of paying $300 an hour, you're paying $225, it just stretches the budget further if it's unavoidable. And there are some things that maybe we don't want to do it ourselves. Like when I ended up being able to take care of the things for my brother, I saved money because I did it myself. The law firm just guided me towards the grant of administration. But if I didn't want to do it myself, or I didn't feel like I had the ability to go through this package and deal with all the forms, I could have hired a lawyer. And it would have definitely felt better to be able to get that 25% discount for sure. So
Yeah,
sometimes
I
we
love
just
how the
want to,
options are there.
right? The options are there
They
and
can
there's,
guide you to do it yourself, or you can get a discount and just hire them out. So I think
absolutely.
that's great. That's very empowering for people.
I agree. I really love that too.
I know I'm like a do it myself kind of person. So if someone could guide me through things, like that's fantastic.
Well, like on that note, that's a very good point because I'm a big fan of lawdepot.ca. It's a great website. It has thousands, I think, of templates on that, and they're all to BC law or whichever province you're in. And so when I did an independent contract, I wanted to hire an independent contractor. I just went to lawdepot.ca, chose the template, put all our information in it, and then I think they charged me $30 to print it. And then I could take that to my lawyer. So remember I said earlier, $650 for a contract review today versus $30 to pay lawdepot.ca and then have my contract reviewed by my lawyer. So I love that you said there's all these different options, and it's very empowering to have options because if you don't want to do it yourself, maybe you've got a budget because people have money. Not everybody's broke. I'm not trying to say everybody's broke. How are we using our money? That's the question. If you feel like you're too busy to do it yourself and you'd rather use your budget to have a lawyer do it at a discount, have at her. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, time is also money. So
Mm-hmm.
your time is valuable. And if you feel like it's more worth it to pay somebody, then by all means pay somebody. But yeah,
100%.
stretching your money as far as you can, for
Yeah, I
sure.
love it.
I like
Yeah.
it. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of this knowledge with everybody. And I hope everybody feels a little bit less scared of this subject. And I'll put all of Billie's contact info in the captions of this video so that you can reach out to her with any questions that you might have, or if you're ready to join LegalShield and start feeling a little bit more relaxed about any potential legal needs that are coming up in the future, or even getting your will sorted out.
Awesome.
That's a big one.
Awesome.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for the opportunity to share, Stephanie. I feel like thanks to you We're just empowering potentially hundreds of families and hundreds of small business owners to have, be able to take better care of themselves. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and Billie runs a really amazing women's networking group on Facebook. So I'm also going to link that so you can come on and join us in there.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you too.
We'll see everybody next Friday for our next Ask an Expert Friday.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.